The Machines Arena is a top-down, adrenaline-fueled PvP style game with a whole lot going on in between. I had the chance to sit down with the developer where we covered a bunch of different stuff. Let's get into it. You guys had actually released two games, and they're both VR. Was the Machines Arena initially or at any point conceptualized as a VR or AR game, or was it always kind of the top-down?
It was always a top-down. So there is an AR component to it that we're working on. It does have an AR spectator mode. So you could, put down the map and watch your friends or watch a championship on a, AR map. But no, we wanted to make a competitive, fun game. The original idea comes from our lead producer, Shanghai, who used to be a competitive gamer, and we kind of wanted to bring that immediacy and fun back into it. We wanted to make something that was really immediate, really fast, easy to get into, but hard to master. So we came up with this top-down format that kind of works both on PC, console, and mobile devices.
Talk to me about the different heroes within the game itself. There's a couple different ones you could pick from at this point. I would assume or guess that you may add some more on it at a later point. So can you kind of walk me through those different heroes and kind of how they impact the game in different ways?
We have 9 heroes. The game is in alpha right now, and I think we have 8 of the 9 heroes are playable. We're pushing out the last one into our test community, I guess this or next week, and we plan on having a roster of 9 heroes for beta. There's a few different game modes, and since you're building a team of 4 versus 4, it's about the characters, but it's also about the synergy between the characters. Initially, we split them down into 3 roles: tank, support, and assault. Within each role, though, you have very different characters. So our tanks, we have a tank called Day. He's kind of like this big red fire hydrant looking dude. He can put up walls, which kind of temporarily close off, more narrow passages, and has quite a lot of firepower and a lot of hit points. He moves kind of slow, though. Then we have another tank, Pyro, which is a bit faster, has fewer hit points, but runs around with a flamethrower. Then we have a third tank, Riot. He has this ability to, he's also a close combat, he has got like a sword and a shield. He can pull singular targets over a distance, so all the characters have these different abilities. Then in the support roster we have Tesla, she's a sniper, but she's also got this area effect. Heal, we have another character, Devol, who is more like a mechanic. She can put up turrets, both healing and assault turrets. And then the third character there is Ozymandias, which is more kind of a darker kind of, he has these meta-human powers, but works a lot with poison. He's not so much about healing. He can heal a little, but he's more of a dot damage over time kind of area effect guy. And then we have the assault characters. We have this kind of typical soldier boy called Zulu. He has these missile launchers on his back and can call in aerial strikes. We have this ninja type character that can go invisible, can dash really fast, who's more kind of like an assassin, kind of rogue type. And the final character we're introducing is actually quite interesting. The backstory is he wakes up and he's got amnesia, but has been turned into an android. So he's trying to regain his humanity. So he's more gone into like shamanism. He's got like this fur on his back, all like an animal skull on his head, and he has this kind of this bear track and can summon these wolves and stuff.
One thing that comes to mind actually with these characters, can you rank them up, evolve them in any way? Can you like swap out their gear and weapons or their abilities, stuff like that, or are they kind of set in what they have?
No, you can't in the PvP mode. So we're working on a player versus environment mode as well. That would be quite different, but they're completely separated. So in the PvP mode, we just wanted to keep them, this is the character. It's balanced. I mean, it's very difficult to balance something for multiple game modes where you have multiple objectives with multiple characters. Then once you start allowing players, as fun as it is, to level up and get gear and all of that, but once you make the game about that, then it stops being about really what's fair. It becomes about pay-to-win mechanics. So we decided to go the route of just the character is just the character. We want to introduce skins. We thought about also, it could be a really interesting way of telling their story to have skins of them from various points of their existence.
Yeah.
So you might have like a slightly less robotic version, and the engine around the game has become quite robust. And even though we're putting the PvP into beta, we're very keen on exploring more what we can kind of get out of this project. So we're playing around with this kind of roguelite player versus environment, single to 4-player co-op, in the vein of Hades and Hollow Knight, basically infinitely escalatable. The interesting thing there is we don't have to really balance it for it to be fair in like a competitive tournament type way. So this allows us to kind of take a character, strip away all of their abilities, and then you earn them, you can modify them, you can up your damage or your health. You make decisions as you're progressing through this roguelite, which then resets when the run is finished. But you kind of have a record of this was my run, this was my build, this is my record. You know what I mean?
So you mentioned kind of some of the different narrative aspects of the game, the character backgrounds, things of that nature. So how does the narrative aspect, the backgrounds of the characters come into the game?
And there isn't a lot of narrative in the game. We have been throwing the ball back and forth with narrative and with the backstories and working with these characters, the imagery and their stories, but we haven't really been telling them through the game. The way I see this world is that these characters are they're mercenaries. It's kind of like a band of unlikely comrades coming together, running an errand for one corporation against the other. So for them to kind of be on the same team at some points and opposite teams at other points, it makes sense. But we really want to use the opportunity in the PvE. If we get that mode feeling good, then we're thinking we could do these mini campaigns for each of the characters where we use the opportunity and we tell the story of the characters kind of through the experience of going through their solo campaigns.
With the class types right now, you'd mentioned there's 3 of them. Is there any thought to adding more onto that, or right now are you just happy with the 3 and you kind of want to leave it there?
It is something we came up with in the beginning, just to guide our design process. I think already we have within the classes, we have almost subclasses already. I wouldn't really say the character creation is so much about these 3 primary roles, but they're there kind of to help new players kind of grasp more quickly the concept of, okay, this is a support character,
Yeah.
I usually play a cleric in WoW. I could play a support character here.
So that actually is a good segue into the game modes themselves. There's 3 of them, there's pushback, detonation, and skirmish. So can you do like a quick, the elevator pitch for each of them and kind of how they work basically?
Okay, so detonation is attackers versus defenders. There's 2 sites which you have to get the fuse and you have to take it to both sites, and you have to plant it, and then you have to defend it for about 20 seconds until it goes off. Then you have to rinse, repeat, pick it up again, go to the other side, detonate that. Defenders, their mission is to stop you from doing that. The fixed time is 5 minutes. Once the attackers manage to get one of the detonation points out of the way, there's an extra timer of 1 minute and 30 seconds. So those matches are typically, between... Well, as an attacker, you can win in 2 minutes. But then we have another mode that's called pushback. That is basically there's a railroad track that goes through the level in a pretty much symmetrical way on both sides. And then you have a payload, and your mission is to stay in proximity with the payload. If you're in range of it, it'll move towards the enemy base, and the enemy will be coming at you, trying to, take control of the cart and push it towards your base. Then I think it's the 5-minute mark, the goalposts start moving into the level. So it's basically like a back and forth trying to push this cart into the goal. Then we have a third mode, which is really just there for fun. It's like a skirmish mode where there's just a kill count. The first team to 35 wins, or with the highest number when the time runs out.
Your matches are 4v4 right now, correct?
Yes.
So have you ever played around with the concept of kind of adding more onto it, taking players away? Has that ever been something that you've thought about?
First of all, we have AIs, and so we have a ranked mode, which is strictly 4v4. But you can play a quick play match in a given time segment. The matchmaking system will just add AIs to that. You can also play a custom lobby, which is more of a broadcasting mode, because you become a spectator if you're in that lobby and you're on neither one of the teams. But in that mode, you can kind of select who's on what team. what game mode is being played, etc. And if you go in there and there's just, we could go one-on-one if we wanted to.
Okay.
But we haven't introduced the concept of there being more than 4 people.
The roadmap behind the game moving forward. You said, you're kind of getting to the end of all your alpha testing. What does 2022 look like for you guys?
Okay, so I mean, to be perfectly fair, I think, the concept of alpha and beta and early access and all of these concepts, they have become kind of liquid with games as a service and games that are meant to be played for years to come. We're adding content to entertain our players for a long time. We will constantly be testing new things, testing unbalanced game mechanics, etc. Coming out of alpha, I think we're going into beta kind of end February, beginning of March. Our dates we're looking at now. There are a few things that could delay that by a few weeks. Beta is not a fixed period. What we will be doing is more key giveaways. We're going to expand the test group quite a lot. And, we need to test our server stability, the backend scalability. And we also just want to test out more players, how the calculations on ranked mode. And a lot of these things are we need a full season, with much more people kind of understand if our theories are correct. So, don't really want to make any claims about how long we'll be in beta. Hopefully, we'll be going into a early access kind of phase later this year.
Okay.
Maybe in summer, end of summer. We would love to be able to do that. At that point, we will be looking at kind of a founder's edition of the game where we sell copies for a low price with the knowledge that the game may at a later date go into free to play, but the founder's edition kind of at least enables us to, reward people who opt in at that point, skins or special rewards.
Yeah.
I mean, there are quite a lot of stages. And we're actually thinking of, we might, in the middle of beta, we might introduce the alpha mode of the PvE stuff. So we have a beta test of PvE, but then we have an alpha test of that stuff. And so, it is kind of a living thing. Beta is going to be about getting it in front of as many people as want to try it.
You'd mentioned consoles, you'd mentioned mobile. Where do you plan on launching the game right now? Is it just kind of PC at this point with a potential to mobile, or do you kind of have an eye for porting it to console?
No. The first thing is PC.
Okay.
And we have taken care of not designing out the possibilities of going on console or going on mobile. We have been optimizing the game. Every once in a while, we re-optimize it for mobile, and at some point, somebody ported it to the Switch. But the threading issues, so the main issue with that is that the Switch threads quite differently than other devices. So the frame rate was quite bad. It was in single digits. But we have people that have started looking at it, and there's nothing unachievable about doing those things. But it's just we want to prove that we have a good game and that it's a viable product before introducing it to more platforms.
That makes sense. And there you have it. That is the Machine Arena, a incredible looking game with a whole lot going on. It should be arriving sometime this year in beta format, so make sure you stay tuned for that. All of their social media is down below. Make sure you go down there and check it out. Go down there and wishlist the game. But before you do, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for everything else on the way. And until next time, I am Nick. This is the Side Quest, and I will see you next time.
Thank you.